Mark, I think there was also conversation that because schools are closed, there may be fewer numbers.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, it looks like people are filtering in though, so looking
Also,
good so far. All right, for those of you just joining, we're going to give it another 60 seconds or so, and then we'll get started. Okay, it looks like we're plateauing off a little bit, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Mark Weicker, and welcome to the Special Education Legal Clinic. Today is Tuesday, January 20th. We usually do these on Monday, but because of the holiday, of course, we bumped to Tuesday, which is probably a snow day for some of you. Our presentation today is on resources and support for children with disabilities by DRO, OCECD, and USED. And if you haven't been to the Special Education Legal Clinic before, it is a collaboration between Abdenor Weicker, a private law firm, Disability Rights Ohio, and OCECD, which is the Ohio Coalition for the Education of Children with Disabilities. We are currently in the middle of our advocacy and action series. So we're about 3 or 4 workshops in January, and next month it'll be our workshop also will be on a Tuesday because of a holiday, and that workshop on February 17th is Overcoming Transportation Challenges in Special Education by Renee Stromsky, an attorney at Abdenor Weicker. We've done that one before, and it was well received, so we're doing that one again. Today, I mentioned we're going to talk about resources and support during the workshop. If you're scheduled for an individual guidance session, which we do independently of the workshop today, those will follow on the half hour after the workshop, and you'll get a separate link for those so that those are held privately with an attorney or advocate. Today, we're going to start with OCECD, which I mentioned is the Ohio Coalition of the Education of Children with Disabilities. We're going to move on then to USED, which is UCCEDD, the University of Cincinnati Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities, which is part of Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center. And then finally, we're going to end with an overview of Disability Rights Ohio from Emily Durrell at Disability Rights Ohio, or DRO. All right, without further ado, I'll pass it on to Elaine Hamilton and Amy Freeman.
All right. Can everyone see our presentation? All righty.
yes.
So I'm going to hand it over to Amy. She's going to talk a little bit about the coalition and kind of the beginning part
Okay.
of this presentation. Go ahead, Amy.
Thanks, Elaine. Hi, my name is Amy Freeman, and I am the Coalition's statewide Transition to Adulthood Program Coordinator. And I'm thrilled to see friends and colleagues as participants today. So that always makes me smile. So thanks, everyone, for being here. I'm going to start with just a few slides, and then Elaine will follow up with the remaining slides about who we are. We are the Ohio Coalition for the Education of Children with Disabilities, sometimes called the Coalition, sometimes called OCECD. And we are a statewide nonprofit organization that serves families of infants, toddlers, children, and youth with disabilities in Ohio, as well as the professionals who serve the families and youth and kids. We've also been funded since 1984 as Ohio's Parent Training and Information Center. And I'll discuss that a little more in a couple of slides. We help parents become informed and effective representatives through knowledge about laws, resources, rights, and responsibilities. There's never a cost to families for the services that the coalition provides, which is super cool. And I want to highlight, and I'm going to ask Mark if he will put in the chat, if he can, the coalition's website. It's ocecd.org. And what I really want to tell you about is there is a youth page on the coalition's website. So the link that Mark's going to put in is for the coalition's website, but there's a place that talks about youth advocacy and empowerment. And on this page, and we've gotten such great feedback from parent mentors, from parents, from transition folks, and from state agencies about the resources that are available on the youth page or youth portal. It's designed to be for youth. It's not written for parents. There is a section on there for families or parents, but the language, the graphics are all designed to be available to youth for them to understand and be able to use what's available. In addition to the youth portal, we in Ohio have been in conversation now for a long time about creating a statewide youth advisory council. And Celia is part of that. So her contributions through the USED is super valuable. And it's state agencies. It's the Department of Education and Workforce. It's OCALI. It's Department of Developmental Disabilities. It's Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. It's Ohio Self-Determination Association. Thanks, Mark, for doing that. It's the OSU Family Engagement Center, Ohio Network for Innovation. There are over 10 statewide agencies that are participating and creating this Youth Advisory Council. And we have a youth that has been leading this work with a core team for the last 6 months. And as of yesterday, we feel like we may be able to get some funds to support youth to be involved with this work so that when they're at the table, they get paid just like all the professionals that are at the table. So fingers crossed that this is going to continue. And it's the most optimistic I've felt in 4 years of working on this. So yay. I'm going to turn it over to Elaine now. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Amy. And thanks for going into detail about the Youth Advisory Council, because I believe it's so important. As she said, we are a PTI, and all of our services are free of charge. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do with families. And you'll see the title here, Information Specialist. That's what we're called. I think one of the things that's a misconception when people call is that they think we're advocates. So I always like to put that out there up front when I'm working with a family that our title is Information Specialist. And most of us have that parent perspective. A majority of us on staff at the coalition are a parent of an individual with a disability, or maybe a family member, a sibling. So we've gone down that road. We walk alongside them in their journey, and we're able to relate to them in a way that most people can't. I was a parent mentor for 10 years in Columbus, and I'll tell you, working with families gave me that perspective as well, because I was a family of a child with a disability, and then working with those families, it just made me feel supported. So I think that family to family support is amazing, and it's an invaluable resource that we have. That's just a natural resource, really, because it's really emotional when you go into meetings and you're sitting at the table when you're the parent, maybe you're the only parent in the room, and then there's a room full of professionals. So, having us either there at the meeting or having us being able to provide guidance is something that's really supportive. Families really appreciate that. So we help parents understand their rights and identify options. And I feel like my role is more of a role of coaching, in helping them to understand, looking at that procedural safeguard document that can be a little daunting, and understanding what it means and what they can do to really support their child in the meeting. So they feel like they're, a part of the team. We don't give out any legal advice. And like I said in the beginning, we're not advocates. So those are two things that I try to really make sure parents understand when I first start working with them. I usually send them a detailed bulleted list that talks about how we can help. It goes through everything that we can do and everything that we can't do. If they're working with an attorney or an advocate, then we really don't go any further with the parent because that would be duplicating services. So we do have a team of folks that are information specialists that are able to support families that speak other languages. So that's been another invaluable source because, as you can imagine, it's very frightening to go into a meeting where you don't speak the language and you don't know what's going on. So to have that support from the coalition is something that's huge for families. So this map is not correct right now. I believe we revised it, but this just gives you a glimpse of how we are able to cover the entire state of Ohio. So each color on the map represents an information specialist that covers that area. Back when I was doing Central Ohio, I was the white area, kind of in the center. So everybody has their designated area. So if someone calls me and they really need somebody up in Cuyahoga County, then I need to get a hold of Lisa Lutz, who covers that area. So, because sometimes people do, they just find a name or a number, or maybe they've gone on our website and read our bios and they think they could, reach out and talk to that person because they like what they read or whatever. But we really do have specific areas that we cover. So we make sure to get them linked up with the right person. And as you can see on the screen, our executive offices, where our executive director and assistant director is in Marion, Ohio.
Elaine, can you talk about the relationship between our information specialists and parent mentors?
Sure. Like I said, I was a parent mentor for 10 years, and we used to provide technical assistance for them. So, we don't now. That's OSU. It's under OSU now. But we do support, parent mentors. If they need someone to come in and do a training, we can do that. But if a parent's working with them, what we do is we look at a list to see which parent mentor is covering that area. And the first contact in the district or ESC or wherever it is should be with that parent mentor. So we really make sure that we can send that parent to the parent mentor first and then get them connected with them so they could go ahead and work with them because they are embedded in their district. Is that what
Great.
you were wanting, Amy?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you so much.
sure. But if parent mentors need our support for trainings, we can do that as well. And the website that was provided, if you are able to take a look at that, you could see all the trainings that we offer. And those are for parents and professionals. So here's some more information on what we do. Here's some of the different trainings. And the reason why I wanted Amy to talk about the youth advisory portal because it wasn't listed here and it's very important piece of what we do. So a lot of our information is given over the phone. We can meet parents in person at the school, or we could do a Zoom meeting. I usually like to try to give the parent the option if they wanted to set up a Zoom meeting with me to kind of go through what's going on so I can help them work through whatever the challenges are. Some more. We don't have our newsletter anymore. This slide needs to be updated. We are doing digital postcards now. We do one-on-one support, like I said, or we do it over the phone or on Zoom. We have a lot of trainings coming up. You can look at our website to see what's coming up. We have a few statewide things come up. We have a conference in March. It's a preschool conference, and we're looking into doing a couple of things with stable accounts and a few other things for the rest of the year. We have an amazing IT person who gets all of our information out there and works with Amy with her youth portal and keeps our website up to date. And we really appreciate him. I know things have changed over the years. As you can see, our website is slowly changing. It takes some time, but it's getting there. Anything else you want to add, Amy?
No, I hope that people have questions, and this would be an opportunity if anyone wants to ask us. and Mark will field those questions. I'm not sure if it'll be in Q&A or chat. So yeah, we'd love to see if you have anything that we didn't cover and would be helpful if we did.
Yeah, any questions can be dropped in the Q&A, and so we'll give it another few seconds here and see if anyone has any questions on OCECD in particular. And if not, I'll turn it over to you, said, and that's Jenna Wells, Celia Schlomer, and Dr. Ilka Riddle.
Yes, thank you. Celia, could you pull up the slides, please? Yes, good afternoon. My name is Ilka Riddle, and I am the director of the University of Cincinnati Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. It is a very long name, so we generally go by USED. But we also recognize that for a lot of people, it is a little bit abstract in terms of what are we actually doing and who are we? So I'm very excited to be here today with all of you, as well as with Celia and Jenna, who really focus and run our family support, family navigation kind of programs. So I will focus specifically on those today. And in a moment, Celia, as well as Jenna, will talk about their specific programs. Next slide, Celia. Okay, so what is actually a UCED, a University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities? Next slide. Okay, so University Centers for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities are actually established under the Federal Developmental Disabilities Act. So I have a link here for you if you're excited about reading public law. Feel free to check out the full document. But what is unique about us is that all of these centers are established under law. So we must be in each state. And each of the centers works statewide. So our focus is always all across Ohio. Our university center is affiliated with the University of Cincinnati, since all of the centers have to be affiliated with the University Academic Center, as well as Cincinnati Children's Hospital. So ours is affiliated with both of those organizations. And we are considered a liaison between academia, our healthcare system, and the community. So the idea behind the centers is to make sure that there is an information kind of cycle that informs, so that, for example, families inform the research that we do, and then the research that we do should then have an impact and make life better for people with disabilities. So that's the idea. And another unique thing about us is that we are a part of a nationwide network. So as I mentioned, each state has to have at least one of those university centers. Here in Ohio, we are very fortunate to have two of those centers. There's us here down in Cincinnati at the University of Cincinnati, but then there's another center, which is the Nisonger Center at the Ohio State University. So we have two of the centers doing the work of USEDs. So that's really exciting. In general, the USEDs address issues. They try to find solutions and advance research regarding the needs of people with disabilities and their families across the lifespan. Next slide. Okay, so what is our vision and what's our mission? So overall, as you said, we believe that all people, including individuals with disabilities and their families, belong and live healthy, safe, self-determined, and fulfilling lives within their communities, and that people with disabilities really are the drivers behind how they want to live their lives. Our mission is to improve the health, self-respect, the equity and self-determination of individuals with disabilities and their families, because we believe that the people who lead the lives they want everybody in society benefits from that. And how do we do this? How do we achieve our vision, and do we follow our mission is through education, training that we provide, working with community partners, conducting our research, reviewing and providing input on policy, as well as share all the information with people with disabilities and families. And it is really important to us to be a very inclusive organization. So we believe that everybody deserves respect. And we truly believe that our work is strengthened by the diversity that we all bring to our work and our lives. And we support appreciation and respect within communities through the policies that we have, through the resources that we share, and the actions that we take. Next slide. So here's just a very a picture of the current core staff so that you get to see who we are. Next slide. Okay, so what do the USEDs do? All the university centers have what we call 4 core functions. And if you look at the left side where you have the flower with the different colors, the first part in green says interdisciplinary training. It's one of the things that we do. The blue kind of petal of the flower says community services. So this is working in collaboration with community partners. The third one is research. That means we are looking at the latest findings as well as policies and conduct research. And then the fourth petal in pink is the information dissemination that we do. So when we talk about interdisciplinary training, what does that actually mean? It means that we work with students as well as professionals who come from all kinds of different disciplines and come together to learn and share their experiences. And there are different programs that we run for interdisciplinary training. One of the programs that we have is called LEND, or Leadership Education in Neurodevelopmental and Other Disabilities. The Nighsonger Center also has a LEND program, and that brings together graduate level students as well as postdoc students to learn about how to best support children and families with children with disabilities and their families. And it's a 9-month program that really prepares pre-professionals for their careers in healthcare or allied health or in the community to have best practice knowledge and make sure that kids with disabilities receive the best care so that they have the best outcomes. We also at the University of Cincinnati, through the School of Social Work, have a developmental disability certificate program. That's 4 classes that students can take in addition to their majors or minors that teaches them about individuals with disabilities across the lifespan. It teaches them about policy, leadership, and theories that drive the work that we do. And then we do various workshops that we call pre-service and continuing education training for professionals in the community. A lot of times those training sessions that we do are also open to families, and we usually have a really good mix of professionals as well as families when we do our online training opportunities that Jenna will talk about in a little bit. The second part of the USITS is community services and collaboration. So here we work in partnership with the community on many different projects. So for example, currently we have a grant that focuses on helping youth with autism in their transition journey from school into adult life. And we work with many different community partners in the Cincinnati areas to make sure that the students and their families have access to the resources and have the support they need to have a successful transition experience. So this is just one example of many different projects that we do in the community. And this is also where all of our family support work happens. It's in that community services and collaborations bucket. Next slide. So then we also conduct research. We sit at an academic institution, and we really want to contribute knowledge that improves the quality of life and the health of people with disabilities. So we have different research studies going on, as well as we review state level policy as well as national policy to look at like how does it work for people with disabilities? How does it help people with disabilities? Or what are the barriers that maybe some policies put in place? And then we educate policymakers on what are the challenges with their policies or why we like some policies and how they support people with disabilities. And then the last bucket is information dissemination. So that just makes, we have to make sure that all the information that people with disabilities should have and that families should have really gets out to family members, individuals with disabilities, professionals in the community, the general public, so that people really understand about the rights of people with disabilities, what are some of the barriers that they face, how do people with disabilities contribute to our society, and how can we make sure that we are fully inclusive and accessible. Next slide. So now I'm going to get into what you probably all have been waiting for, and this is like specifically what are we actually doing for families of children with disabilities and chronic medical conditions. And with that, I will hand it over to Celia to talk specifically about our general family support at the USED.
Hi, everyone. I'm Celia Schlomer, and I am part of the Family Navigation Family Support team here at the USED. I do general family support, but that shows itself in numerous different projects. My first role is just that. I can support a family from birth into aging. Family member could be a sibling, could be a parent, could be an individual with a disability. From birth into aging, to navigate, to connect with others, to learn information they need to know, and also to access or learn how to access goods and services that support them as a person with a disability. All of our family navigation, family support team are family members themselves. Excuse me. So first and foremost, I am a mom. I have 4 amazing kids, but it is my eldest daughter who brought me to this work. And that began in school. And I have to say the coalition was my best friend and really helped me take that walk along and made me do a career change, basically, to move into this field after meeting the parent mentor that was at Cincinnati Public Schools when I was just beginning this journey with my daughter. And across time, learning about that school piece, if you see under there, it says expertise. It is a school of hard knocks, and that is that walking the path of a parent of a kiddo with a disability who was navigating the special education space, IEPs, self-advocacy. And so all my kids are grown now and out of school, but I've continued in that family support role in that whole idea of community services and enhancing knowledge and skills within the community to understand kids with disabilities, to better support them, and to make sure that they have better access to the tools that they need to live, love, work, play, and pursue their life aspirations in the community. Some of the cool projects I get to do that through, I have so along with the general USED family support role, I am part of several different grants. As Dr. Riddle spoke, we have numerous different grants that do different types of work, one of which is the Rubinstein-Taybi Syndrome Grant, and that directly supports families with family members with Rubinstein-Taybi syndrome in the Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana area. Pretty specific grant, but because Dr. Rubinstein was staff on Cincinnati Children's Hospital, that work has continued here, and we now have pretty much a national and growing international presence in that space of supporting families around this rare syndrome. So I think that's the importance of it. You said is in that connection, and then that research place that Dr. Riddle spoke of. We begin to have these projects and we grow these networks that really support families as they're on these journeys, kind of roll your sleeves up and boots on the ground alongside families. The other piece that I'm actively part of and have been for 10 years, we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary of our grant with the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities around the Charting the Life Course framework. And I am part of the team that is part of the Family Resource Network of Ohio, if you've ever heard of that. And we actually coach and train professionals and family members and individuals with disabilities about Charting the Life Course. And Charting the Life Course is a framework primarily, but it also has some great tools that can be used to really bolster up and empower family and individuals' voices to be heard in the spaces where they're trying to live their best life, and help them organize their thoughts, share what they want and don't want, and begin to really develop that self-determination piece and advocacy piece in order to really have that sense of autonomy and control in their own life. And so that work's been going on for 10 years now. And we are now also partner with the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce. And they are a strong advocate for this work and getting in the hands of teachers and schools. We have over 200, almost 200 Charting Life Course ambassadors, that is trained people that go out and try to share this work with families and professionals and individuals. And a good part of those are within the education system through the support of the Department of Education and Workforce. And so that work has been ongoing and is a constant. And it is some of my favorite work because it really is that empowerment piece of empowering and helping families capture their stories and share them with others in order to do the things that they want to do in the spaces they want to do it with the people that they care about the most. So that is another piece of my work. What's not on my slide is the work that I actually do with DRO and the Ohio Coalition for the Education of Children with Disabilities. And that is called the Empowering Families Grant. And that grant is a set of modules that those three groups have worked over the last almost 5 years now to put together for family members to become a little bit more savvy and educated in the area of special education and understanding all the roles in special ed, understanding how to support their own family and family members in that space of special education, and to be a tool and a support for others in the areas where they are, whether it is a cultural community, whether it is a district, whether it is a building, and helping others learn more. And anybody can participate in those modules. And that will be wrapping up at the end of June, but a great grant that's done some really good work in terms of just giving people access to information, families access to information. Out of that grant also is a space called the Ohio Special Education, I have to do the letters, Special Education Resource Team, or OSERT, because we make everything into letters. And OSERT is a space where professionals who do the work, like the coalition, like our family navigation team, and like parent mentors, to come and talk about the things that they're hearing, boots on the ground, that are the needs for and of families. And then we talk about and share our knowledge with each other so they can go back and take it into their communities and support those families. But in addition, we can look at trends and talk about ways that we can offer trainings or other things so that they are really hitting the nail on the head with what families need at any given moment. So that's kind of what I do. I'm going to pass the baton on to Jenna Wells, who does a plethora of things too.
Thank you, Celia. If you can, just forward the slide. At first, hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. I am Jenna Wells, and I'm going to just be talking a little bit more about the Ohio Family to Family and Ohio Parent to Parent programs, and tell you about some of the upcoming events that we have going on as well. But first and foremost, Ohio Family to Family. So you can go to the next slide, please. We have a family support team across the state. So this particular program is federally funded, and we provide support throughout the entire state. Amy Clausen lives in Cleveland area. She provides support in the northern part of Ohio. Meredith Evans lives in the Columbus area, and she supports the families that are in central Ohio. And then I live down in the southern part of the state and provide support down here through the Family to Family program. First and foremost, this program is completely free. We don't need any insurances. We don't need any payments. So that relieves a lot of pressure from families, first and foremost. Our support through the Family to Family program is short term, but it's also based on what your needs are. So each family, as they come through, if you need more support over a period of time, we are able to provide that support. So there's no like specific parameters around how many times we can reach out or how often. It's really based on the need of each individual family. It is one-on-one assistance. So each of us are family members ourselves. We actually, all three of us are parents. So we can, walk along the journey with you. As you're navigating this healthcare system, you're navigating the various systems that we all have to navigate. It might be your local school, like Celia mentioned. It might be your community. It might be recreational systems. It might be that healthcare system. Whatever it is, we can help navigate through those systems and help empower you to determine what is best for you and your family just by going through and maybe brainstorming and figuring out what your priorities are. So it's all about, what you need as a parent or as a family member yourself. We can certainly help with the transition into adulthood. We recently just held our first annual transition expo. It was called Journey into Adulthood Expo, and it was in this area, but we do hold one up in the north part of the state as well. And that was amazing. It was just a really great place to have everyone come and learn about the transition process into adulthood. And we do, of course, make sure that you are connected to the resources that we know about, but also we are constantly learning, and our community partners are a huge part of this program too, and work alongside them. So yeah, next slide, please. And then I'm going to talk about the Ohio Parent to Parent program. Next slide. So the Parent to Parent program is more of a peer mentoring program. So this is where we will actually train you. If you're interested in being a peer mentor, we can train you with we have monthly trainings. So it's quite convenient. It really, you can complete the training in your own time and when it's convenient for you. But we have our tagline is Ohio P2P can connect you. No parent should feel alone ever. And so we want to make sure that families that have similar experiences are connected to one another and can learn from each other. Even the peer mentors are certainly learning from those that they're supporting as well. So it definitely goes both ways. Relationships are created, friendships are created, and it's a great way to just slowly get involved with the community, especially if you are a family member that isn't quite involved with the larger disability community or larger community around you. This is a great place to get slowly involved with others that are also going through the journey at the same time as you. But what we do, so a little bit more, I mentioned we train the support parents, and then we will, as we get referrals, we essentially will match them with somebody that has been through that similar experience. And they are 8 weeks long, typically. Again, very flexible. We don't have to, we can make that shorter, we can make that longer if we need to. But we like to kind of do a check-in and make sure that the match is going well, especially at that 8 week mark. So that is kind of how that program works. We want to just make sure that families are connected to each other. So next slide, please. So just real briefly, we have our peer support groups that are coming up. We have once a month. They are online, and they are for any family member or caregiver that is interested in coming and talking, and just if we are there to listen, and peers are there to listen, and it's really a great place to just feel that support that is needed. And then next slide, please. And then we have a couple of information sessions. There's one that is about Medicaid and waivers coming up on January 29th. And then we have another one all about home care nursing. And that is, that's a 3-part series. And there's one in February and a couple in March there too. So just wanted to briefly talk about those, and we can give you more information as you need it. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a couple questions in the Q&A. It said the modules discussed sound great. How do we gain access to that is the first question. And
I
then,
can,
yeah,
if
go
I'm
ahead.
able, I can put a flyer in. Am I able to do that? Or I can forward it to you and you can put it into the chat? Are we able to do it that way? I don't know this
Yeah.
Zoom.
If
Okay.
you have a link, you can just provide it in
Okay.
the chat, or you can send it to me and I can put it up too.
Okay, perfect. I can do that.
Yeah. And then second question, also from the same attendee, there are a lot of great resources in the slides. Can we get a copy of the slide deck? And that, if you want to provide to me, if that's okay to share, I can email that out to the attendees after the workshop.
I'll get you a PDF. That'll be easier. Okay.
Great. Yeah, thank you. All right. And with that, I'll pass it on to Emily Durrell with Disability Rights Ohio.
Thank you so much, Mark. I also had a question from you said, or for you said you guys do policy work. Do you ever submit comments on proposed rules or provide legislative testimony? I'm seeing
Yes.
nodding.
Yes, we sure do. Most, you probably also know, since we are federally funded, we can educate on issues, and we can certainly provide comments on proposed rules. The testimony is a little bit more iffy for us. We can certainly provide testimony and have done that as individuals, as private citizens, on topics that we care about overall, as you said. But yes, we do work on those issues for sure.
That's awesome to know. See, this is a very useful presentation because I didn't even know all the stuff you guys did, and I feel way more educated.
Yes,
So I'm
great.
I'm gonna get started on presenting about Disability Rights Ohio. So like every other organization that's presented today, we're also a federally designated organization. We're Ohio's protection and advocacy organization. What that means, I will tell you as we go through. Let's see if I can figure this out. All right, here's our vision. Voices elevated, people empowered, equity achieved. We have about 50 people in our office, and I think these numbers are from 2024. We got 3,583 calls for service. We get calls from all over Ohio, and we serve in all different areas, which I will tell you about. All of our work is led by people with disabilities. That means our board largely consists of people with disabilities. Our goals and objectives that our organization pursues are also informed by our stakeholders, who are people with disabilities. So we always try to be led by the people that we represent. What do we actually do? There's 5 main areas of work we do. We advocate, we provide advocacy and resources to people with disabilities. That's a lot of what I do. I work a lot of like one-on-one with people with disabilities. I provide direct advocacy, direct legal representation, and link them with resources. We also do investigations. This is probably some of the most important work we do because we are federally designated as that protection and advocacy organization. we actually have something that's called access authority. So we get to go into places where people with disabilities live, not their homes, but if they're living in a jail or a nursing home or a psychiatric unit or a youth residential treatment facility, our monitoring and abuse team will go in and look at the facility, make sure that it's safe, make sure that it's clean, and they even get to interview the people living there to make sure their rights are being respected. We also do a lot of policy work. So we also we provide comments on proposed rules. I don't know if we do legislative testimony because that's also a gray area for us. But we really work hard to engage our communities in policy work. So finding those advocates in the community that want to step up, that want to get together, and that want to do direct advocacy. We review representative payees to prevent exploitation. So if a person with a disability is receiving SSI or SSDI, and they're not able to manage those funds themselves, they may have a representative payee who's paying those funds for them. We have the federal designation to monitor those representative payees and review them to make sure that the money is being used appropriately, no one's being taken advantage of, and we get to interview the people who are supposed to be receiving the money to make sure that all their rights are being respected and that their state of living is maintained. We also educate and provide outreach across Ohio. So that's kind of what we're doing today. But we do a lot of trainings, presentations. If you're interested in a presentation from us, just let us know. I did a presentation for Ohio Family to Family, I think, last year with Jenna. So if you're interested in that kind of work, we can do it. We do it to schools. We do it to trainers. We do it to mental health professionals. Anyone who's interested, we provide education. We also have a ton of resources on our website if you're interested in learning about almost any area of disability rights law. If you want to get in touch with us, here's how you can do that. The numbers up there you see, the 1-800 number is toll free. Those are our intake numbers. So if you have a discrete issue, you can just call in about that. Or if you're just looking for certain information, you can call in and our intake specialist can point you in the right direction. Our website is right there. Like I said, our website has a ton of resources in our self-advocacy resource center. So chances are if you have a question related to your rights as a person with a disability, there's an answer somewhere buried in there. And if you have trouble finding it, maybe call our intake line if they can help you find it. We have a Facebook page. This is how you can stay in contact with us. We try to update people on policy work we're doing. We update people on what our organization is doing. We have an Instagram where I think similar stuff happens. And then we also have a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is a really good resource too, because we record all the trainings that we put on ourselves. So if you want to watch me do many, many presentations, they are on the YouTube channel in a bunch of different areas. I think one of the best resources we have up right now is actually a short video series that we did in collaboration with the coalition. It's on the rights of a youth who's going through the transition period 14 to 22. What does graduation look like? What do transition services look like? And those videos are available in English and in Spanish. Very useful. What is the history of the protection and advocacy system? Unfortunately, it's a sad one. So in 1972, a journalist, Geraldo Rivera, published an expose on a state school in New York. It was a state school for students with intellectual disabilities called Willowbrook. And the expose kind of shocked the entire nation. There was 6,000 youth living there in just filth. They weren't getting the right treatment. They weren't getting any education. A lot of them didn't have access to basic things like communication or mobility assistive technology. And it was like pretty horrifying. So as a result, Congress passed the Protection and Advocacy System laws in 1975 that designated the protection and advocacy system. Basically, we're charged with making sure a Willowbrook never happens again. So that's why monitoring is such a big part of the work we do. We also focus a lot on community integration. People shouldn't be housed in these Willowbrook schools away from everyone else. They should be with their peers whenever possible. Our intake process, I mentioned this a little bit with the phone. We also have an online form if you have an issue, or you can even do an intake by mail. I'm going to go into the different teams we have now. The first team we have is our Civil Rights and Access team. They provide information and help people advocate for themselves in a variety of different ways. This is extremely vague, but that's kind of because this is our catch-all team. So if you have an issue that isn't strictly education or isn't strictly abuse and neglect, it probably would go to Civil Rights and Access. They usually help with stuff like housing rights. So if like you're being discriminated in your apartment on the basis of a disability, like service animals sometimes go in this section, prison rights. Like I said, it's kind of a catch-all, but really good work is done by this team, and I'm often jealous of the exciting cases they get to work on. The abuse, neglect, and exploitation team, this, like I mentioned, is I think probably the core of what Disability Rights Ohio does, and one of our most important teams. We do those facility-based monitoring activities. So we have a list of every facility where a person with a disability might be in Ohio, and we go out regularly to just monitor the facility and make sure that it's safe. But also sometimes we get complaints or allegations of abuse, like something's really bad is happening in this facility. In that case, we could do an investigation. I've had the privilege on going on a lot of these visits, especially to the youth facilities, because I kind of add the education voice. But it's really important work. If you have a kid who is in a facility and you feel like his rights aren't being respected, a lot of times facilities, they might really excel in care in one area, but really fail in another. So like they might be good at mental health treatment, but not good at supporting kids with developmental disabilities. If you feel like your kids' rights aren't being supported, please call in and we'd be happy to help how we can. We also have a policy team. We're going to empower advocates to inform and inspire with their own lived experiences, elevating their voices to the rooms where decisions are being made. So like I said, we have a pretty robust policy group of self-advocates who we help access the State House if they want to make their opinion known. During the budget process, I think not the most recent budget process, but the one like 3 years ago, they actually were a super big force in the State House. And the home care health aid salary, I think, went up to $18 an hour, in large part because of the advocacy work they were doing. So really amazing work that that community integration team does. And I'm excited to see what they do next. And our outreach and community engagement team, they kind of coordinate all this and they promote our advocacy on the web. You can check us out on Facebook or Instagram, like I said. There are some things that we don't do. We don't do criminal or divorce representation. Something that I see a lot is truancy, people calling and looking for an attorney to help them with like a criminal truancy charge. Fortunately, I cannot help with that because it's criminal. We also don't help with filling out a benefits application, and we also don't help with attorney complaints. So if you're working with an attorney and you're upset with how the attorney is representing you, we are not the organization who can help with that, unfortunately. The last team I want to talk about is the one that I work in, I think is the most relevant for probably this group of people, and that's our education and employment team. So this team works to improve the opportunities and outcomes for people with disabilities. So let's go into some detail on the education team. We're a small but mighty team. There are only 4 of us, but this is the work that we do statewide. We have our fellow program. So this special education fellow, they serve families who reside in Franklin County and all the counties that touch it. I actually started as the fellow. They provide individualized advocacy support and they attend IEP meetings. And the purpose of the fellow is to assist families to better understand special education law, to provide that direct support in IEP meetings, and to give families the confidence to continue advocating for their children even after the case is resolved. So providing instruction. Like I said, I started with the fellow. We usually hire law graduates fresh out of law school. So kind of nurturing them in the area of special education law with the hopes that they'll continue on doing that for a long time. Worked for me. We also have an advocate. The special education advocate provides individualized information to families, and our advocate serves the entire state. So our goal is if you have an education problem and you call into Disability Rights Ohio, you're going to get assistance no matter what. So if you live in the fellow catchment area, it will probably be from the fellow. If you live outside of that area, it might be the advocate. And we also have attorneys, of which I am one. Our education attorneys are available to assist with cases that align with DRO's goals and objectives. And these goals and objectives are determined by stakeholders and approved by our board members. So people with disabilities are determining what our goals and objectives are. And if you're interested in seeing those, they're online at this link. Mark maybe could put it in the chat, but you don't have to. We also do systemic work, which I forgot to put on here, but like the policy work, I've written some comments on the proposed rules. I think over the summer, there's like a weird scare with the autism scholarship where they suddenly randomly decided you couldn't get it if you're over 18. So we kind of coordinated like an information campaign with the parents who called in and kept track of what was going on in the state house. That was really interesting. So a lot of cool work there. Our employment team mainly consists of our client assistance program. I did not name this. This was federally designated, so it's very vague. But what they do is they assist individuals accessing vocational rehabilitation services through Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, or OOD. So there's a lot of crossover, obviously, between the education employment team, because once a kid hits 14, we're wanting to get them linked up with VR services wherever possible. So our CAP program, or I guess it's just CAP because that would be redundant, our CAP can help with any issues you have with OOD. So if they're not providing the right kind of services, or they've denied a specific service you've requested, or they're saying they're going to close your case, our CAP team can help you navigate that and help appeal any decisions that have been made. Great resource for transition-aged youth. So generally, in summation, here are the ways we can help. We have a lot of resources on our website. That's our self-advocacy resource center there. We have a bunch of videos on our YouTube channel if you're interested in recordings of live trainings or that transition video series I mentioned. We also provide individual assistance, so our attorneys and advocates can help you, and we can also sometimes provide individual representation from an attorney. And I think that's it. Any questions?
All right, there is one question in the Q&A, and I think this was placed in here when you started speaking, Emily. It says, do you go into classrooms that are potentially unsafe?
I don't think we have, at least since I've started, but I don't think there's anything that would stop us. I would have to check. Our access authority is very narrowly defined, so I actually don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, and we'll give it another few seconds for any other questions, but I think that's going to wrap it up. And assuming we don't get any more, thank you very much, everyone, for the presentations today. Very informative. For the attendees, keep in mind you can register for any or all of the upcoming workshops. We have a series scheduled several months in advance. I mentioned at the beginning that our next workshop is Overcoming Transportation Challenges in Special Education by Renee Stromsky of our law firm, Abdenor Waker. Remember, that will be also on a Tuesday, unique this month and next month, Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. And again, you can sign up for that workshop or all the rest of them, or any of the workshops individually at the link I provided in the chat box. And it doesn't look like we have any other questions. I did receive the PowerPoint from USED, so I'll make sure to pass that on to all the attendees by email after the workshop today. And thank you all again for the great presentations, and for the attendees for attending the workshop. See you next month.
Mark, Elaine, and I will submit our PowerPoint as well.
Okay, great.
Okay. You have to give us a little time, hopefully by tomorrow, okay?
Yeah, no worries. I'll wait to get it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure thing. Thanks.
Mark, I had a quick question. The things that you put in the chat to the panelists, did those show up in the regular chat too?
I reposted them.
Okay, because I was trying to scramble, so I could not figure it out, and then I finally figured out how to answer. I didn't see it was a separate tab. I'm like, how do I answer these?
Yeah.
So that's news to me. But thank you for doing that. I apologize.
If it was obvious that you wanted it to go to the whole group, I just reposted it to the entire.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Course.
Have a great day.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.